Welcome to our deep dive on Stephen Covey's The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People.
It's a classic.
Yeah, and it looks like we're going deeper than just, like a basic summary of the habits.
Right.
The excerpts you've chosen, they really get into like the principles behind them, the why behind the what.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you're also interested in seeing how these play out in the real world.
Yeah, exactly.
Would you say that's accurate?
Absolutely spot on. What I find so fascinating is that the excerpts you've picked, they all kind of point to this core idea in Covey's work. The shift from what he calls a superficial personality ethic to a deeper character ethic.
Okay.
It's about, building strength from the inside out, not just slapping on a smile and hoping for the best.
Yeah, that's such a good point. I mean, when I first read about this whole paradigm shift thing, it really hit me hard. Like, Covey compares our worldview to an optical illusion.
Right.
Like that famous picture where you see either a young woman or an old lady, depending on how you look at it.
Yes.
And it made me realize how much, like, my own assumptions, the way I'm already seeing things, can limit what I see and how I act.
That's exactly it.
Yeah.
That's exactly what Covey is getting at with those illusions.
Yeah.
He wants to show how deeply ingrained our paradigms can be, how we don't even realize they're influencing everything we think and do.
Right.
And these hidden assumptions, they can really hold us back.
Yeah.
Personally and professionally.
Okay, so we need to challenge our paradigms, but how do we actually do that?
That's the big question.
You've also highlighted these sections on proactivity, including that incredible story about Viktor Frankl,
Yes.
his experience in a Nazi concentration camp.
Oh my goodness.
Talk about facing some seriously limiting external factors.
I know. Frankl's story. It's a powerful example of how even in the darkest of circumstances, we always have this freedom to choose our response. He chose to find meaning and purpose in the midst of unimaginable suffering.
Wow.
It's this really stark reminder that our power, it lies in our response, not in the things that just happen to us.
It's like that old saying, life is 10% what happens to you and 90% how you react to it.
Exactly.
Okay, so speaking of taking responsibility, you flagged an interesting passage about the PPC balance.
Yes.
Uses the analogy of a goose that lays golden eggs right.
Yes. It's a powerful metaphor for understanding the balance between production, the golden eggs, and production capability, the goose.
Oh,
So often we get so caught up in chasing the next golden egg, the next achievement,
right.
that we totally neglect the goose that's actually producing them.
It's about working smarter, not just harder, right?
Exactly.
We need to invest in ourselves and our skills and relationships and health so we can actually sustain success over the long haul.
Precisely. And it's not just about, achieving external success, but it's about cultivating that inner strength and resilience that allows us to thrive no matter what life throws at us.
I love that. Now, what really resonated with me was this concept of the emotional bank account.
Oh, yes, that's a good one.
Covey uses this metaphor to explain how trust and connection are built in relationships. And it's not about manipulating people or anything like that. It's about genuine care and understanding, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. Think of it like a real bank account. Every interaction we have, it either makes a deposit or a withdrawal.
Interesting.
And those 6 key deposits that Covey outlines, things like understanding the individual, keeping commitments, clarifying expectations,
right.
Those are like big deposits that build this strong foundation of trust.
Yeah, understanding the individual, that one really stuck with me.
It's so important.
It's not just about passively listening, it's about really seeing the world through the other person's eyes, isn't it?
It is. Covey, he stresses the importance of empathic listening, really trying to understand the other person's perspective before we jump in with our own thoughts and opinions. It's about, putting aside our own filters and biases and really tuning in to what the other person is saying and feeling.
I remember the story from the book about a man who took his wife to have lunch with Covey.
Oh, yeah.
Work on their communication.
Right.
And it turned out they had very different communication styles. One was very left brain and logical, the other more right brain and emotional. And this created a ton of misunderstandings.
That story is a perfect example of how crucial it is to be aware of both our own communication style and the style of those we interact with.
Yeah.
When we fail to do so, we risk all sorts of misinterpretations, conflicts, and strained relationships.
Oh.
It's like speaking different languages.
So to make those deposits in the emotional bank account, we need to listen with empathy seek to understand and be aware of these communication differences.
Yes.
Makes sense. But what about those withdrawals?
Ooh, yeah.
I remember Covey talking about how breaking promises, even small ones, can chip away at that trust.
You're absolutely right. Breaking a commitment, no matter how small, like making a withdrawal from that trust account. It creates a sense of disappointment and erodes the foundation of the relationship.
It's like that anecdote about Covey's son who was so obsessed with efficiency
Oh, yes, I remember that.
he scheduled everything down to the minute,
Right.
even like dropping off his girlfriend.
I know.
Covey uses this story to highlight the importance of being adaptable and prioritizing human connection over, rigidly sticking to a schedule.
That story is a great reminder that true effectiveness goes beyond just checking off boxes on a to-do list.
Yeah.
It's about prioritizing what truly matters, even if it means, disrupting our perfectly planned schedules.
You know what else is interesting? Covey connects this idea of the emotional bank account to the concept of abundance versus scarcity.
Oh, that's a good connection.
He argues that conditional love, where someone feels they have to constantly earn affection or approval, can foster a scarcity mentality.
That's a brilliant insight. When we grow up feeling like love is conditional, like it's a limited resource we have to compete for, it can create this deep sense of insecurity. It's as if we're constantly worried about the supply of love running out.
And that scarcity mentality can spill over into other areas of life, right?
Absolutely.
Always feeling like there's not enough to go around, whether it's recognition at work opportunities, even happiness.
Precisely. It can lead to unhealthy competition, jealousy, a fear of sharing,
Oh, wow.
all stemming from that deep-seated belief that there's only a limited pie to be divided.
Covey contrasts this with the abundance mentality, the belief that there's plenty out there for everyone.
Love that.
He gives an example of a company president who wanted to foster cooperation among his employees.
Okay.
But he set up this trip to Bermuda contest for the top performer. It's ironic, isn't it?
Yeah.
He wanted collaboration, but inadvertently created a cutthroat environment.
It perfectly highlights how even well-intentioned actions can backfire if they're based on a scarcity paradigm. The president, despite his desire for teamwork, he inadvertently reinforced the idea that success was a zero-sum game,
Right.
that one person's win meant another's loss.
Covey then shares a contrasting example, a company that completely revamped its training program
Interesting.
by switching to a learner-driven model.
Okay.
Instead of force-feeding information, they empowered employees to take ownership of their learning. And guess what?
What?
They achieved incredible results in a fraction of the time.
That story is so inspiring. It demonstrates how powerful it can be to trust people, to create an environment of abundance and opportunity,
Right.
where everyone feels supported and empowered to learn and grow. It's a beautiful example of what can happen when we shift from scarcity to abundance.
And you know that this whole idea of abundance versus scarcity ties back to the emotional bank account.
Yes.
When we operate from a place of abundance, we're more likely to make those deposits, to be generous with our time, appreciation, and understanding.
Absolutely. Abundance breeds generosity, while scarcity breeds fear and hoarding.
Right.
When we believe there's enough to go around, we're more willing to share, to support others, and to build those strong, fulfilling relationships that Covey talks about.
It seems that this concept of abundance really underpins a lot of what Covey teaches. It's not just about individual success, it's about creating a world where everyone can thrive.
You've hit the nail on the head. Covey's philosophy is about moving beyond a self-centered, limited view of the world
Right.
and embracing a more expansive, generous perspective.
Now, shifting gears a bit, you've highlighted a section that really resonated with me. It talks about how problems can actually be opportunities
Oh, yes.
to increase our PC, our production capability. It's
Interesting.
like that old saying, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
Exactly. Covey encourages us to reframe challenges as opportunities for growth and learning, instead of viewing problems as setbacks.
Yeah.
We can see them as a chance to develop new skills,
Right.
to become more resilient, and to ultimately increase our capacity to produce results.
So instead of getting bogged down by problems, we can ask ourselves, what can I learn from this? How can I use this experience to become more effective?
Precisely. It's about adopting a growth mindset,
Yeah.
a belief that we can continuously learn and improve,
Right.
even through difficult experiences.
Covey even talks about how this applies to relationships.
Okay,
Using the example of his own challenging relationship with his brother-in-law.
right.
He says that confronting the issues head-on actually strengthened their bond.
That's such a powerful example. It shows that avoiding conflict might seem easier in the short term, but it often leads to resentment and distance.
Right.
Facing those tough conversations with empathy and a willingness to understand can actually deepen our connection with others.
So by embracing challenges in our relationships, we can actually use them as opportunities to strengthen our bonds and to grow together.
Exactly. It's about understanding that conflict, when handled constructively, can be a catalyst for deeper understanding and more authentic connection.
This leads us perfectly into the next section, which is all about habit 4, think win-win.
Ah, yes, one of my favorites.
It seems like you're really interested in this concept. You've highlighted a ton of excerpts about it.
I am. Think win-win is one of the most powerful habits for building healthy, sustainable relationships.
Okay.
It's about moving away from that adversarial win-lose mentality and embracing a collaborative approach where everyone benefits.
So it's not about one person getting their way at the expense of the other. It's about finding solutions that work for everyone involved.
Exactly. And Covey, he doesn't just talk about negotiating agreements. He outlines 5 key dimensions of win-win. It's a much deeper and more holistic approach than just striking a deal.
Okay, I'm intrigued. What are these 5 dimensions?
Well, the first and most important dimension is character.
Okay.
Covey argues that integrity, maturity, and an abundance mentality are the foundation for seeking win-win solutions. Without these qualities, it's all just manipulation and gamesmanship.
So it starts with who we are, not just what we do.
Exactly.
That makes sense. What's next?
The second dimension is relationships. Strong, trusting relationships are essential for win-win. When people feel respected and valued, they're much more likely to be open to finding solutions that benefit everyone.
It's about building that emotional bank account we talked about earlier.
Yes.
Creating a reservoir of trust and goodwill.
Exactly. Then comes agreements,
Okay.
which focuses on clear, mutually agreed upon expectations.
Right.
Win-win agreements should be specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound.
So it's not just about shaking hands and hoping for the best. It's about creating clear expectations and a roadmap for success.
Precisely. The fourth dimension is systems.
Okay.
Covey stresses that for win-win to thrive, systems need to be aligned.
Right.
Reward systems, performance evaluations, communication channels, they all need to reinforce collaboration and mutual benefit.
So it's not enough to just talk about win-win. We need to create an environment that supports it.
Exactly. And finally, we have processes.
Okay.
This dimension focuses on using win-win processes for decision-making and problem-solving. It involves all stakeholders, ensures everyone's voice is heard, and seeks solutions that address everyone's needs and concerns.
It sounds like a very thorough and intentional approach to collaboration.
It is. And when all 5 dimensions are working together, it creates this powerful synergy that can lead to extraordinary results.
I love that word synergy. It's like the magic that happens when people work together in a truly collaborative way.
Exactly. And speaking of synergy, that brings us to the next habit. Seek first to understand, then to be understood.
Oh, this is a big one. Covey says this habit is the key to effective communication, right?
Absolutely. It's about becoming a truly empathic listener. Seeking first to understand the other person's perspective before trying to make them understand ours.
Okay.
It's about putting aside our own filters and biases and genuinely trying to see the world through their eyes.
It reminds me of that story Covey tells about being on a battleship
Oh, yes.
where a near collision was avoided.
Right.
Because the captain took the time to fully understand the situation before taking any action.
That's a great example. It highlights how important it is to gather all the necessary information and perspectives
Right.
before jumping to conclusions or making decisions, especially when the stakes are high.
It's so easy to fall into the trap of listening autobiographically, filtering everything through our own experiences and biases. Covey talks about those 4 automatic responses: evaluate, probe, advise, and interpret.
Yes.
It's like we're so quick to put our own spin on things that we miss what the other person is really trying to say.
It's so true. And when we do that, we're not really listening.
Right.
We're just waiting for our turn to talk. We're not creating a space for understanding.
Yeah.
We're just reinforcing our own perspective.
Covey talks about how empathic listening creates psychological air for the other person. He compares it to the importance of physical air for survival.
Interesting.
It's like people need to feel understood in order to truly thrive, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. When
Anyway.
someone feels genuinely heard and understood,
Yeah.
it creates this sense of safety and connection. It allows them to open up, to share their thoughts and feelings more freely,
Right.
and to be more receptive to our message.
I remember the story from the book about a group of executives who were initially resistant to Covey's ideas, but after he took the time to truly understand their concerns and perspectives, they became much more receptive. It's like empathy can be this powerful bridge builder, can't
It
it?
absolutely can. Empathy is the key to unlocking genuine connection and effective communication. It's about putting ourselves in the other person's shoes and seeing the world through their eyes.
So to truly communicate effectively, we need to resist those automatic responses, quiet our own internal monologue,
Yes.
and really focus on understanding the other person.
Precisely. It's about shifting from a mindset of, I need to be heard, to a mindset of, I need to understand.
Right.
And when we do that, we create the foundation for truly meaningful and productive communication. Welcome back. I'm excited to continue our deep dive into the 7 habits. Where should we go from here?
Well, we covered a lot on like the individual habits.
Good.
But now I'm curious to see how these principles, apply on a larger scale, like to organizations.
Yes.
You've highlighted some fascinating excerpts about the 7 habits and their relevance to, companies and teams.
It's amazing how these principles, while they're focused on personal effectiveness,
Right.
they translate so beautifully to the organizational level.
Yeah.
Covey believed that the same habits that empower individuals can also empower teams, departments, even entire companies.
You've highlighted this section about the importance of a shared mission and vision in organizations.
Yes.
It makes sense that when everyone's rowing in the same direction, so to speak,
Right.
things run more smoothly.
It's more than just smooth sailing, though.
Okay.
A shared mission and vision provides a sense of purpose. It's like a compass that guides every decision, every action.
Right.
When everyone understands and believes in the why behind their work,
Yeah.
it creates incredible alignment and energy.
Yeah. I remember reading about this hotel that had like exceptional customer service.
Oh, yeah.
And it turned out that their secret wasn't some fancy training program or anything.
Right.
It was a deeply ingrained culture of service.
Interesting.
All the employees, from the housekeepers to the managers,
Wow.
they were united by this shared mission of creating a truly exceptional guest experience.
That's a perfect example. It wasn't about rules or procedures.
Right.
It was about a shared understanding of what they were all striving for.
Yeah.
And that shared purpose translated into genuine care and a willingness to go above and beyond for their guests.
It's like that old saying, culture eats strategy for breakfast.
Yes.
No matter how brilliant your plans are,
Right.
if the culture doesn't support them, they're likely to fall flat.
Covey understood this deeply. He emphasized the importance of not just defining a mission and vision,
Right.
but also living it every day, embedding it in the very fabric of the organization.
You've also highlighted some passages about empowering employees. It seems that Covey was a big believer in giving people ownership and autonomy.
Absolutely. He believed that true effectiveness comes from unleashing people's potential, not micromanaging them. When we trust our employees, give them the space to make decisions and take risks,
Right.
we create an environment where they can truly thrive.
There's this passage where Covey talks about how ineffective people try to manage others while effective people manage themselves.
Oh, love that quote.
It's a subtle but powerful distinction.
It speaks to the heart of Covey's philosophy, this idea that lasting change comes from within. When we empower people to manage themselves, to take responsibility for their actions and their results, we unlock a whole new level of motivation and commitment.
I'm starting to see how all these habits are interconnected. They build on each other, creating this virtuous cycle of effectiveness.
You're getting it. And speaking of interconnectedness,
Yeah.
one of the most powerful ways to create organizational effectiveness is through fostering synergy.
Covey believed that when people from different departments and backgrounds come together with a shared purpose,
Right.
magic can happen.
You've highlighted a story about a company that was facing a major challenge.
Yes.
They decided to assemble this cross-functional team to brainstorm solutions.
Sure.
Bringing together people from all levels of the organization.
It's a classic example of how breaking down silos and fostering collaboration can lead to breakthrough results. The team was able to see the problem from multiple perspectives and come up with this innovative solution that saved the company millions of dollars.
It's a perfect illustration of how the whole can be greater than the sum of its parts.
Yes.
But creating that kind of synergy requires a certain environment, doesn't it?
It does.
People need to feel safe to share their ideas, to challenge assumptions, and to build on each other's thinking.
You're absolutely right. Creating a synergistic environment requires trust, openness, and a willingness to embrace diverse perspectives.
Covey talks about the importance of valuing differences, seeing them not as obstacles, but as opportunities for innovation and growth.
And it requires a leader who can create that space.
Yes.
Who can foster a culture of collaboration and mutual respect.
Leadership is crucial. A leader who embodies the 7 habits, who leads by example, can create a ripple effect throughout the entire organization.
Now, we've talked a lot about creating a supportive and empowering environment.
We have?
But what about individual growth and development? You've also highlighted some passages about the importance of sharpening the saw in an organizational context.
This is crucial. Organizations that prioritize employee development reap huge rewards.
Okay.
It's about investing in people's skills, knowledge, and well-being.
Right.
It's about creating opportunities for learning, growth, and renewal.
You mentioned that there are 4 dimensions of renewal.
Right.
Physical, mental, social, emotional, and spiritual.
That's right.
How do these translate to the workplace?
It's about creating a holistic approach to employee well-being.
Okay.
Physical renewal could mean offering wellness programs, healthy food options, or on-site fitness facilities.
Right.
Mental renewal could involve providing professional development opportunities.
Okay.
Encouraging creative thinking or supporting a culture of continuous learning. Social-emotional renewal could involve fostering teamwork, recognizing achievements or promoting a sense of community. And spiritual renewal could mean connecting employees to the organization's mission and values, encouraging ethical behavior or supporting a sense of purpose.
I'm starting to see a pattern here. It seems that a lot of Covey's principles boil down to creating a win-win environment, whether it's between individuals, teams, or the organization as a whole.
You're spot on. It's about moving away from that zero-sum game mentality.
Right.
And embracing a more abundant collaborative approach.
Yeah.
It's about recognizing that when people feel valued, supported, and empowered, everyone benefits.
Now I want to shift gears a bit and explore the broader implications of Covey's work.
Okay.
You've highlighted some passages that talk about the impact of these principles on society as a whole.
Covey believed that the 7 habits weren't just about personal or organizational success.
Right.
They were about creating a better world.
Wow.
He saw these principles as a roadmap for building a more just equitable and fulfilling society.
You've highlighted a section where he talks about the importance of building a society based on the principles of fairness, justice, and integrity.
Yes.
It seems like he saw these principles as the bedrock of a healthy and thriving society.
Absolutely. He argued that when these principles are upheld, it creates a foundation of trust and cooperation, which are essential for any society to function effectively.
There's this powerful quote from the book where he says, the degree to which people in a society recognize and live in harmony with the principles of effectiveness moves them toward either survival and stability or disintegration and destruction. It's a stark reminder that our choices have consequences, not just for ourselves, but for the world around us.
Our actions ripple outwards, impacting our families, our communities, and ultimately the entire planet.
When we live by principles of fairness, integrity, and respect for others, we contribute to creating a more peaceful and harmonious world.
Exactly. And this sense of interconnectedness is also at the heart of Covey's emphasis on social responsibility.
Okay.
He believed that we all have a responsibility to contribute to the well-being of our communities and to make the world a better place.
You've highlighted a passage where he encourages us to leave a legacy that makes a difference.
It's a powerful call to action, isn't it? It's about recognizing that our lives have meaning and purpose beyond our own individual pursuits.
Yeah.
It's about using our talents, resources, and influence to make a positive impact, to leave the world a little better than we found it.
I'm thinking about that story about Covey's granddaughter who was so moved by the plight of orphans in Romania that she dedicated her life to serving them. It's a beautiful example of how one person can make a profound difference in the world.
It's a testament to the power of compassion and service. When we shift our focus from ourselves to others, we not only make a difference in their lives, but we also discover a deeper sense of meaning and purpose in our own lives.
It seems that Covey's vision extends far beyond individual success or even organizational effectiveness. He was ultimately striving to create a more just compassionate and fulfilling world for everyone.
That's the beauty of the 7 habits. They're not just about achieving goals. They're about becoming the best version of ourselves and contributing to a world where everyone can thrive.
Now, I want to dive into a specific aspect of Covey's work that you've highlighted in your source material.
Okay.
You've chosen a number of excerpts that focus on the concept of paradigms and paradigm shifts.
Paradigms are those fundamental assumptions we hold about the world, the lenses through which we see and interpret reality. Covey believed that understanding our paradigms and being willing to shift them is essential for personal and societal transformation.
He uses the analogy of an optical illusion, like that famous picture where you can see either a young woman or an old lady, depending on how you look at it.
Yes.
It's a brilliant way to illustrate how our perceptions can be so easily influenced by our pre-existing beliefs.
It highlights how we can look at the same situation and see completely different things. Depending on the paradigm we're operating from. And often we're not even aware of these underlying assumptions that are shaping our perceptions.
You've highlighted a section where Covey talks about the difference between the character ethic and the personality ethic. He argues that for much of the 20th century, there was a shift away from the character ethic, which emphasizes principles like integrity, humility, and service, towards the personality ethic, which focuses on outward appearances, techniques, and quick fixes.
He believed that this shift has led to a decline in moral values and an increase in social problems. It's like we've become more focused on projecting an image of success than on actually developing the character traits that lead to true fulfillment.
It's like we've become obsessed with the golden eggs and forgotten about the goose that produces them.
Exactly. We're so focused on achieving external validation that we've neglected the inner work that's essential for lasting happiness and success.
Covey also talks about how our paradigms can become self-fulfilling prophecies. If we believe something to be true, we're more likely to act in ways that confirm that belief, even if it's not accurate.
This is a powerful concept.
Yeah.
Our beliefs shape our actions, and our actions reinforce our beliefs.
Yeah.
It's a cycle that can be either positive or negative, depending on the paradigms we're holding on to.
You've highlighted that story about the students who were mistakenly labeled as bright and dumb by their teachers.
Oh, yes, I remember that one.
And how those labels ended up influencing their academic performance.
It's a tragic example of how limiting beliefs can become self-fulfilling prophecies.
It highlights the power of our perceptions and the impact they can have on others. When we believe in someone, we can help them to unlock their potential.
Yes.
But when we hold limiting beliefs about them, we can inadvertently hold them back.
Covey argues that paradigm shifts can be challenging, but they're ultimately liberating. When we're willing to challenge our assumptions and see the world from a new perspective, it opens up new possibilities and opportunities.
It's like taking off a pair of old blurry glasses and putting on a new pair that allows us to see the world with clarity and focus. It can be disorienting at first.
You can.
But the rewards are immeasurable.
You've highlighted a passage where Covey describes his own experience with a paradigm shift. When he read a book that introduced the idea of the gap between stimulus and response. He says that this simple concept had a profound impact on his life, helping him to become more proactive and intentional.
It's a beautiful example of how a single idea can spark a paradigm shift and lead to a transformative change in our lives. And it highlights the importance of being open to new ideas, of constantly seeking to expand our understanding of the world.
So paradigms are these powerful forces that shape our perceptions, our beliefs, and our actions. And Covey believed that by understanding our paradigms and being willing to shift them, we can unlock our potential and create a better world.
He saw paradigm shifts as the key to personal and societal transformation. It's about moving beyond limiting beliefs and embracing a more expansive, empowering view of ourselves and the world around us.
Now, I want to connect this concept of paradigms back to the 7 habits.
Okay.
You've highlighted some interesting excerpts about how each habit is based on a specific paradigm.
Each habit is grounded in a set of beliefs that empower us to become more effective. For example, Habit 1, be proactive, is based on the paradigm of self-awareness and choice. Habit 2, begin with the end in mind, is based on the paradigm of purpose and vision.
Right.
And Habit 3, put first things first, is based on the paradigm of prioritization and time management.
You've highlighted a passage that talks about the paradigm shift that's necessary to move from dependence to independence.
Yes.
It's about shifting from a victim mentality, where we blame others for our circumstances,
Right.
to a mindset of personal responsibility and empowerment.
Dependence is a paradigm of powerlessness. It's about relying on external forces to determine our happiness and success. Independence, on the other hand, is about taking ownership of our lives,
Yes.
recognizing that we have the power to choose our response to any situation.
And Covey goes even further, arguing that true effectiveness lies in the paradigm of interdependence.
Right.
It's about recognizing that we're all interconnected, and that we can achieve far more by working together collaboratively.
Interdependence is a paradigm of synergy and abundance. It's about moving beyond the limitations of I and embracing the power of we.
Yes.
It's about recognizing that we need each other, that we can achieve extraordinary things when we combine our talents, resources, and perspectives.
You've also highlighted a passage that talks about the paradigm shift from a scarcity mentality to an abundance mentality.
Yes.
It seems like this is a recurring theme in Covey's work.
It's a fundamental shift in perspective. The scarcity mentality is based on fear and competition. It's a belief that there's not enough to go around, that one person's success means another person's failure.
Right.
The abundance mentality, on the other hand, is grounded in generosity and collaboration.
I love that.
It's a belief that there's plenty for everyone, that we can all succeed together.
It's about shifting from a win-lose mentality to a win-win mentality.
Exactly. And it's a shift that can have a profound impact on our lives, our relationships, and our work. When we believe in abundance, we're more likely to be generous, supportive, and collaborative.
Yes.
We're more likely to see opportunities rather than obstacles.
Right.
And we're more likely to create a world where everyone can thrive.
So each of the 7 habits is grounded in a powerful paradigm that empowers us to become more effective. These paradigms challenge us to shift our thinking,
Right.
to embrace new ways of seeing the world,
Yeah.
and to unlock our potential as individuals and as a society.
By understanding these paradigms, we can deepen our understanding of the 7 habits and apply them more effectively in our lives.
Now, as we wrap up part 2 of our deep dive,
Okay.
I want to leave you with a thought-provoking question.
All right.
You've highlighted a passage that encourages us to reflect on the scripts that are currently shaping our lives. Covey argues that we have the power to rewrite these scripts to create the life we truly desire.
Our scripts are those unconscious beliefs and patterns of behavior that we've developed over time.
Yes.
They can be positive or negative, empowering or limiting.
Right.
And the first step to rewriting them is becoming aware of them.
It's about asking ourselves, what beliefs are driving my actions? What patterns am I repeating? And are these patterns serving me or holding me back?
Once we become aware of our scripts, we can start to challenge them.
Exactly.
We can ask ourselves, is this belief really true? Does this pattern really serve me? And if not, what new beliefs and behaviors can I adopt to create a more fulfilling and meaningful life?
It's about taking ownership of our lives,
Yeah.
recognizing that we're not just products of our past, but authors of our future.
We have the power to choose our thoughts, our beliefs, and our actions.
Yes.
And by making conscious choices, we can create a life that is aligned with our values and our deepest aspirations.
So as you continue to explore and apply the principles of this 7 habits, remember to be mindful of the paradigms that are shaping your thinking. Challenge your assumptions, seek new perspectives, and rewrite your scripts to create the life you truly desire.
The power to create a fulfilling and meaningful life lies within you.
And with that, we come to the end of part 2 of our deep dive. Join us in part 3, where we'll wrap up our exploration of the 7 habits and discuss how we can integrate these principles into our daily lives to create lasting change.
Welcome back to the final part of our deep dive into the 7 habits of highly effective people.
It's been quite a journey.
It has. We've, explored a lot
Well,
from personal effectiveness to, organizational dynamics and even how these principles can impact society.
it's amazing how far-reaching these ideas are.
Yeah, but now I'm thinking, what does all this mean,
Right.
for our listeners?
That's the real question, isn't it?
Yeah, we can talk about all these principles and theories,
Right.
but the real magic is when we actually start applying them to our own lives.
Absolutely. It's about taking those ideas and putting them into action.
One thing that really struck me about Covey's work
Mm-hmm.
is that it's not just about achieving success in the traditional sense.
Right.
It's about becoming a more integrated person,
Yes.
someone who's really living by their principles.
It's about aligning our actions with our values and creating a life that has meaning and purpose.
Covey talks about this idea of living by principles,
Mm-hmm.
grounding our lives in, these timeless truths that don't change with the latest trends or opinions.
It's about finding that solid foundation.
What are some of those key principles that stand out to you?
Well, one that comes to mind immediately is integrity.
Okay.
That unwavering commitment to doing what's right, even when it's really tough.
Right.
It's about aligning our actions with our values,
Mm-hmm.
being honest with ourselves and others, and keeping our commitments.
And integrity, it's not just about these grand gestures or big decisions.
Not at all.
It's those small everyday choices,
That's fact.
being honest in our conversations, keeping our promises, taking responsibility for our mistakes.
Integrity is built one choice at a time, one interaction at a time. It's about weaving those principles into everything we do.
Another principle that resonates with me is service. That idea that true fulfillment comes from contributing to something larger than ourselves.
Yes, it's about shifting our focus from what's in it for me
Yeah.
to how can we make a difference.
Service is about, recognizing our interconnectedness.
It is.
Understanding that we're all part of this larger web of life.
Exactly. And it's about using our unique talents and resources and influence to make the world a little bit better.
And it doesn't have to be these big dramatic things, right?
Right.
Service can be something as simple as listening with empathy,
Absolutely.
offering a helping hand, or just being kind and considerate.
Service is a way of being, an attitude we bring to every interaction.
As we're wrapping up this deep dive, I'm struck by how relevant Covey's work still is,
I know.
even decades later. These principles, they feel timeless.
They truly do. In a world that's constantly changing, it's comforting to have those unchanging principles to guide us.
And I think it's because they tap into something very deep within us, a desire for purpose and meaning and connection.
Absolutely. They give us a roadmap for a life that's not just successful, but also fulfilling and meaningful.
And what I love is that it's a journey anyone can start.
Right.
No matter your background or your circumstances or your current, level of effectiveness.
Exactly. The 7 habits are for everyone.
They provide a framework for continuous growth and improvement.
It's a lifelong journey.
So as we conclude this deep dive, I want to leave you, the listener, with a final thought to ponder.
Okay.
Covey talks about this idea of scripting, recognizing the influences, both positive and negative, that have shaped our lives.
It's about becoming aware of those underlying stories we tell ourselves.
What scripts are you currently living by?
That's such a powerful question.
Are they serving you well?
It's a great question to ask ourselves. What beliefs and patterns are driving my actions? Are they leading me towards the life I want, or are they holding me back?
And if you could rewrite your script, what would it look like?
It's an invitation to take control and create the future we desire.
Remember, you have the power to choose. You are not a product of your past.
Right.
You are the author of your future. Embrace the 7 habits, integrate these principles into your daily life, and create a life of purpose, meaning, and effectiveness.
The journey starts with a single step.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the 7 habits of highly effective people.
It's been a pleasure.
We hope you've gained some valuable insights and inspiration for your own journey of effectiveness.
Keep learning. Keep growing.
Until next time, keep striving to become the best version of yourself.